Welcome to the thefogvlog.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Easy Does It. When you clicked on this, you know we're going to be talking about Cap Sugar Cookie V1. I'm not 100% sure why we haven't covered this one. But, you know, when I went through the top 100 on all the flavors, this one stood out like a sore thumb. Definitely one that we need to cover, right? So let's kick off with market share, Rich.
Right. Cap Sugar Cookie in the sort of generic cookie biscuit segment. Let's start off with ELR. The original Cap Sugar Cookie, version 1, weighs in with 97,853 recipes. Version 2 comes at an awful lot lower, at 12,740, so roughly about 1/8 as many people using version 2. The two biggest competitors in that segment would be Nuera Biscuit, which is just behind Cap Sugar Cookie at 92,319. So pretty much 90%, 94, 95% as many recipes as Cap Sugar Cookie. And then FA Cookie, which comes in at 61,885. So that's about 2/3 of Cap Sugar Cookie. Then if we move across to all the flavors, again, Cap Sugar Cookie comes out top with 10,289. Version 2 not nearly as popular as it is on ELR, only 382 recipes, so a much smaller market share relative to version 1. Nuera Biscuit, again, the closest at 7,572. So about 3/4 as much as Cap Sugar Cookie. And then FA Cookie at 4,651, so just under half. So in all the flavors, Cap Sugar Cookie has a bigger market lead over the others. Things are quite a lot closer on ELR. And I suppose it'll be interesting over time just to see how much Nuera Biscuit's share falls due to the reformulation of that flavor, whether people are still going to be wanting to use that and wanting to use Nuera in general. But for the moment, Cap Sugar Cookie, fairly comfortable lead at ATF and a slight lead at ELR. So that's the market share.
Yeah, so I'll kick off with the single flavor testing on this one. Of course, the V2 was made to make it DARP free. Excuse me, just a lot more safer. I started at 2% testing this out. What I got was smooth, sweet, creamy, slightly buttery, but you really have to go and look for that. But what was quite prominent in this one, it was rather spicy, something like a cinnamon vibe to it. Nice mouthfeel, slightly less than what I was expecting though. So I was really happy that I tested this at 2% because, before this, I would have recommended this at 2% just to thicken things up, but with all the single flavor testing that I've done now, I think there's better things that I can recommend to add a little bit more, density to a recipe than this, okay, at 2%. Then I went over to 3%, still smooth, much, much sweeter, creamy and buttery, but at 3% the mouthfeel completely changes on this one, quite dramatically. You almost forget about that spice note that was really prominent at about 2%, but it's still there. It's actually rather delicious at 3%. It's still not as heavy as I thought though. So yeah, I'm happy I single flavor tested this. For a true biscuit, if you want a biscuit flavor, nothing below 2%. Even if I think if you just want to add a biscuit note at 2%, you're probably not going to do very well with a little bit of a biscuit note in your mix. You're better off, using it at 3% and up from there. I didn't go any higher than that. I didn't think it was necessary to do that. But at 3%, you're definitely going to start tasting that biscuit, and the spice note is not as prominent as what it was in 2%. Deets, you know a little bit about application on this one, right?
So for application, this does very well in exactly what its name says, as a sugar cookie. There's a very versatile concentrate in terms of the sugar cookie. Obviously, it goes very well as a sugar cookie. A lot of people mix it standalone with the higher percentages, up to about 8%, as a single flavor sugar cookie. The name basically gives it away. It's a cookie with sugar. Wayne from DIY or Die actually puts it very well when he said that it's a very fine cookie in terms of texture. It's not a very thick or big crunch or big like crumbs. It's a very fine textured sugar cookie with that sugar type of fine throughout the texture. So it's used mainly as a cookie, but it's also used everywhere with desserts. People use it with creams. People use it with milks to work on the texture. Whiskey King puts it very well on his flavor description, which I'm actually going to read out here. He says here, it's a sweet, slightly buttery, slightly cinnamon and sugary snickerdoodle cookie type of taste with subtle notes of almond and some sort of nuts. That is definitely spot on to this concentrate and how it can be implemented. It's a cookie. It's a very fine cookie, and it works very well from single flavor to layered profiles in recipes. This is definitely for me one I believe you have to have in your flavor stash. It is very difficult to really use this and not make something that's workable or at least vapeable. So it's used, as you mentioned, lower percentages as well, Theo, but I personally like to use it as an additive. I end up using all the dessert concentrates that people generally use to build that main profile, and I use them as additives for texture or for a little nutty type of texture or that cream or something like that. So it can be used from 1.5%, in my opinion. 1% can work as an additive, lower even, depending on what you are going for or how intense the profile is that you're working with. But it's generally used more, I would say, on an average of about 3 to 4%. There are many mixers using it up to 7 and 8%. So it works low, it works high. It depends on what you're going for, but it's difficult, I would say, to really mess this one up. Therefore, it's a good one to have in your stash. The steep on this one, you can generally expect from 7 to 21 days, depending on what you're going for. I personally have noticed with sugar cookie recipes, the longer this one goes, the better it gets. The texture just blooms, if I can put it that way. It just grows. It improves the longer the steep goes. So some recipes that use sugar cookie very well is, first of the highest rated one is Sugar Cookies and Cream by Chris DVR. And then there's Snickerdoodle Cookie by ID10T or Idiot, which I've mixed and enjoyed a lot. This is a very intense cookie, and it also brings on that or boosts that cinnamon background that you have, obviously with the rest of the concentrates, but it works the cookie very well at a high 7%. Then I've also mixed up Idiot ID10T's Simple Sugar Cookie with 8% sugar cookie, and it is a really good sugar cookie. This recipe only has 2 concentrates. So for simplicity, this is still the best sugar cookie recipe for me out there. When we reviewed it, I rated it also as the best sugar cookie for me, purely on how simple this is and what you get out. It is an awesome concentrate. But my sugar cookie has been, or the favorite sugar cookie has been dethroned with another recipe using sugar cookie. At what I prefer, my personal favorite when it comes to percentage with sugar cookie is in 6 Strings Sweet Tree, which is a sugar cookie recipe. He uses it here at 3.25%, and it's perfect. It is, for me, the most delicious sugar cookie recipe that there is. I've also used it with strawberry shortcake, and in strawberry shortcake it's used at 2%. So that's where it's worked more as an additive for texture and, in my opinion, that nutty almost dark cinnamony, but not really cinnamony, more on the baked nutty side of things. So as you can see in these recipes alone, it's used in many different ways. It's very versatile. It can be used high and low. It's a great concentrate.
So there you go, guys. I think what we want, like we always ask, if you know of any really good recipes that uses this concentrate that you have tested and want to recommend, leave those in the comment below. Also, if there's anything from a note perspective that we didn't mention, please leave those in the comment below so that people can find it. But thank you so much for watching. Cheers, guys. Bo?
Something that I think is worth mentioning. I haven't experienced it myself, but something that other mixers have said, this is not a concentrate that ages well. So rather buy small batches, 10 ml batches, frequently, than buying like a 50 ml or 100 ml and using it for several years. Apparently it does go off. I mean, it doesn't taste off, but you don't get that same flavor from it after a while. So it's one that people recommend. Buy small and buy frequently.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Anything else? Cheers, guys. Thank you very much for watching.